Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Today's Thursday, Militiaman here. The Patreon and Crew have dialed in a whole bunch of information over the last few days, and some really good things that showed up today were really important, and we're going to try to go over that. I hope you guys appreciate that, what they bring in, the patrons of Patreon with Militiaman and Crew. They help bring all of this to us, okay? So I'm going to try to give them something special today because of the nature of what I think is good, pertinent information. So anyway, today, Al-Sudani directs to suspend official working hours next Monday on the occasion of a Labor Day. Well, okay, they have holidays more than any other country probably in the world. I'm teasing, but probably true. But the interesting thing is, in the timing of the scheme of things, we might find that this is kind of interesting because of the nature of this. The circumstances that we see that the Iraq government and the central bank of Iraq are working in conjunction with, I guess, global entities to get this system up and running, a system up and running. So the fascinating part about this is that the Prime Minister, Al-Sudani, directed the suspension of the official working hours, and he adds that this coincided with the International Labor Day. Okay, so it's not necessarily an Iraq holiday, but it's an international one. And he did that as for the occasion of a Labor Day, but it coincided with an International Labor Day. I find that to be interesting. We'll see if anybody else believes it or thinks like I do that that's an interesting thing or not. But ultimately today what we found that is that in one of the articles in Patreon, we published this. It says electronic point of sale and unified treasury account. Okay, so Al-Sudani, the Prime Minister, he chaired the event. They talked about the formation of committees and representatives of ministries and governance and government banks to install an electronic payment system in all institutions. The point of sale has been around for quite some time. They have point of sale prior to us even going to where we're going in the future. ATM machines, they've had card machines. They've already told us that they had the point of sale at the gas stations. We've had that kind of stuff. So anyway, today, when we've learned about those things in the past, now we're hearing about it again to more of an advanced stage, in my view. It says Al-Sudani chaired a meeting of the Committee of the Locationalization of Salaries in the Unified Treasury Account. The Treasury Account, well, they're talking about, they did it with the Treasury Account, but they did it in the presence of the Central Bank of Iraq, the Ministry of Finance, ministers, advisors, managers of Rafidane Bank, Rashid Bank, Al-Iraq Bank, of Trade, all of these different representatives, and interestingly enough, the Federal Financial Supervision Bureau. They did all of this today, and they had these talks about this Treasury account. What we're going to probably lay out tonight is that Treasury account is for the people. It's a unified concept. It's basically for the country. So when they talk about being unified, they mean unified. No different than when they talk about unifying the military, the Peshmerga and the Iraqi forces. Unifying becomes one. Iraq is trying to unify themselves. So that's a big deal. The Prime Minister said that he had listened to some of the ministry's procedures regarding this unified public treasury system, the nationalization, and the application of the electronic payment system. So obviously they've had this giving the pros and cons. Because they didn't have this system in place before, there was a massive amount of corruption that was involved. You've heard of the crime of the century. All of those things are going to be eradicated. We'll think about the legislation or the judicial side of that in another topic if we ever have to. But the bottom line is that what they've done now is that they've inserted an electronic platform that the corruption is going to be curtailed, at least to the best of our knowledge. Okay. The main point, I guess, forgive me, but Al-Sudani basically wants to accelerate all of this stuff. And what they've done is they've prepared new standards. Okay, and so all of these different entities that are getting together, I think there's like 16, 17 of them. And what they're trying to do is work this together, the system of this point of sale system, to be able to facilitate movement of money and the banking system, so that they can get the lower costs, the merchants and the citizens. And that's all they're trying to do, is accelerate that. The point of sale situation, it basically is going to be backed and helped with the international and foreign expertise. So they've been on this for quite some time, and it's not even just a Iraq thing. It's going to be a global thing. So they've worked on that for quite some time, and basically they've told us today that the unified Treasury account is ready to go. Okay, the next thing is today, which is really big and exciting, is because the Central Bank of Iraq announced the launch of the Banking Supervision Reporting System. This is what they call the BSRS, okay, but it's the Banking Supervision Reporting System. It's a new system that collects financial data. It effectively will keep track of quarterly data tables, mandatory reserves, trial and balances of non-banking institutions, banking in itself, liquidity and capital adequacies, rates, and financial inclusion data. The thing today was what they were talking about. Today was Financial Inclusion Day. You're going to see in the news, you've already seen it if you go into Patreon, they've already talked about next week is Financial Inclusion Week. Back to the topic of, they called a holiday to coincide with Labor Day on Monday. I'm not saying that's any specific thing, but it's fascinating. It's definitely interesting. It's worth noting that the launch of the supervision reporting system is basically an adoption of regulatory techniques. Okay, it's the automation of activities. It's real-time live. This is all about Iraq's new banking system, and it's going to be all about them facilitating international trade. Functions undertaken by the central bank and its departments regulate the work of the Iraqi banking sector. So they've basically got their system to the point where they're internationally compliant. They're effectively at that stage where they're in compliance with the IMF regulatory requirements. So things like that is just more evidence of the Iraqi banking sector and the government working together in cooperation to get them over to the next stage, which is going to be going to a private sector. So that is all today. That the BSRS system has been launched. It literally takes into account so many different things. It takes into account, like I said, those quarterly tables, interest rates, all of the balances of all the financial institutions, the liquidity of the banks, the capital adequacies of the banks. All of these things are just like so in our face. In this article, it's not even funny. It's serious. It's really kind of cool. So some of the things I like to say too is that I get information just like everybody else in this realm by education, by communication, by phone conversations, interviews. All of the stuff that goes into real-time data is that you interview the experts, in a sense, people that are involved. Not all of it's in print, so some of it is really kind of important because, like for instance today, these are some of my notes from the conversations that I've had over the last couple days. The CBI announced today that the BSRS, which is that the Banking Supervision Reporting System. Okay, we'll leave it at the BSRS. Okay, they reported that today. Okay, the reason why it's important is because it's an electronic system. It's a supervisory system that is going to take place of what they had in the past. The banks in Iraq, for the last decade or more, they just didn't have an electronic system. They didn't have this advanced technology. It was all pen and paper. It was all ink, and it was a mess. And so they've come this far to now have the whole system set up from the Central Bank of Iraq down to the banks and down to the branches. What that means is that they have the knowledge of all of the money inflow and outflow, or currency inflow and outflow. Okay, that is insane, because they've got it down to the branches. So in other words, the central bank knows how much currency inventory there is. They know how much currency inventory goes in the country and goes out of the country. The ATM machines, for instance, those are point of sale equipment, as well as swiping the card at the gas station in that point of sale, or going to the grocery store, swiping the card, that's point of sale. They've got all of this stuff ready to go. And so what they can have is they have the ability to track may not be a good word, but they can account for all of the money that flows in and out. So if you guys remember back in 2018, we talked about money being spent by the Central Bank of Iraq into the tunes of the tens of millions of dollars for printing currency. Well, we never did see that, but the bottom line is that this is what they were talking about. If an exchange rate changes, because they haven't changed from 1310 officially yet, it's still there today, but if they go to international market, there's going to be a need potentially for tracking currency. How much? How much is outgoing? This system, this Treasury, the singular Treasury account for Iraq is about the citizens. It's their money. They need to track that. Okay, that's what they're not tracking it. I guess I keep going to the bad word, but the bottom line is that they have to account for it. So all the money that comes in for the hydrocarbon law into a single account, that's what they're talking about, in my view. And if that holds true, these guys are at that stage where they have everything in place. So if in fact all the point of sales are coordinated and put into action, they have the ability to say, like, do we need so much currency? Do we need this much currency for the future? How much do we need? And if so, can we keep an eye on and understand and account for how much goes out? Because it's going to the citizens, the new money potentially, it's going to the citizens for what purpose? It's for their needs based on what they deserve, which is the hydrocarbon law. That's pretty powerful stuff. So if that's what we're seeing, and the BSRS is up and running, because they say it was launched. They say that today in writing. You can find that in Patreon. You'll kind of have a wake-up call. Okay, so that's pretty killer. But being able to account for currency and the inventory of it is phenomenal, because that is going to be a telling circumstances. How much money we've allocated and how much is going out based on demand. Okay. The other things is that, look, the CBI is online, the banks are online, the branches are online. All of them have to be in compliance with the regulatory rules of international standards, and we believe that all of them are at this stage. There's going to be a time where there's this point of sale circumstance, because they actually have this Treasury account, this unified Treasury account it's in relationship to the point of sale. And again, point of sale has a lot of attributes to that. But the bottom line is that if they're all online, there's two sides to this. There's the commercial side and a retail side, for instance. Okay, the retail side is kind of a ladder situation, but the bottom line is that there's what we hear is a time frame for them to have the whole country will be expected to be online electronically sometime around June 1st. That's what we're hearing as far as that's the whole country. That has nothing to do with like each and every one of us. It just has to do with what once that time frame hits, if you're not on the system, you're going to be out of luck. Okay, so keep in mind that that's just data that we're hearing, and it's not necessarily in writing, cut in stone, but effectively, based on what we're getting from the banking side of the equation, is that it's likely that there's going to be the commercial side will be done, and that has nothing to do with us. The commercial side is important because that's going to happen hopefully as quick as possible. The IMF reporting requirements, basically, look, in the past they didn't have any accountability. This banking supervision has not ever been implemented before. Now it is. That is part of the security and stability. Look, markets change. Okay, so when they get to the stage where they're going to adjust the pricing, you could put a little asterisk in a cell box, and they can repopulate that specific little portion of the a spreadsheet, and they can do that instantaneously. They can do that. And effectively, that's probably where they're at when it comes to markets, because if markets change, the budget can change, everything can change. It's just like it'll be a moving product. Okay, the health of the system. The health of the system is going to be based off like what we talked about. The IMF has requirements, and they have stringent ones, and so Iraq's going to fit those. They're going to have a health of economy. That health of economy. That's what the IMF's about. Health of an economy, and safety. Basically, it's taking care of the people, the money. They take it very seriously. Anti-money laundering, all of that stuff. Okay, is part of the system to where that once it's set in place and everybody's on board, they're going to be able to have accountability for that. And that's where we're at, basically. But keep in mind, the system is basically to get this unified Treasury account set up with this BSRS at the same time, and that's because of the citizens. The citizens have everything to play, and it's coming for them because where's the money coming from for that unified account? It's coming from the oil and gas. It's coming from what? Oil and gas is part of the market. Okay? The budget, the exchange rate effectively, it's going to come from where? It's going to come from the market. So why is this all important? Why today? Why did they tell us this today? Why did they say it launched? Fascinating. These are really fascinating things, and it's really exciting. I would say that a unified account, done. Okay? The BSRS, done. Okay? Why today? Because it's done. They're in a different phase. We have to see how this plays out. I think all of us are going to really enjoy it. So like, subscribe, and join us at Patreon.